For our National History Day project, we chose to explore Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination and the effects after.
Martin Luther King was one of the most accomplished African Americans to ever live.
What might you ask Martin Luther King did in his lifetime? Well, let's tell you. He was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Jimmy Carter in 1977.
Also, Martin Luther King Jr. Day was established as a national holiday in the United States in 1986.
Lastly, King became the youngest person to ever receive the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to end segregation and racial discrimination through civil disobedience and other nonviolent means.
Unfortunately, this great man's life was taken on April 4th, 1968, by gunman James Earl Ray.
In more depth, at 6:01 p.m. on April 4th, 1968, civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was hit by a sniper's bullet. King had been standing on the balcony in front of his room at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, when, without warning, he was shot. The .30 caliber rifle bullet entered King's right cheek, traveling through his neck, and finally stopped at his shoulder blade. King was immediately taken to a nearby hospital, but was pronounced dead at 7:05 p.m.
Many people believe it was this man, James Earl Ray, who shot Martin Luther King Jr. But was it? Many people, including Martin Luther King's family, believe it was not James Earl Ray.
There were four main theories in how King was killed. First theory is that it was James Earl Ray, a career criminal and known racist. The second theory was that it was the government, the Memphis police, the FBI, and Army intelligence. The third theory was the evidence of Raoul. Donald Wilson, a retired FBI employee, found pieces of paper in Ray's car after the 1968 shooting that had the name Raoul written on them. The fourth theory was that it was the Memphis barman. Memphis bar owner Lloyd Jowers did it.
Although King's death was tragic, the effects afterwards were even worse. The effect of his assassination was immediate rioting in more than 100 U.S. cities. Martin Luther King had always advocated peaceful protest. At the same time, there were other active Black Power groups like the Black Panthers and the followers of Malcolm X, who were saying violence was sometimes necessary. When MLK was assassinated, his followers felt like no one was listening to peace and violence was really the only way.
The cities the riots broke out in were Chicago, Boston, Detroit, Raleigh, Tallahassee, and Memphis. Washington, the nation's capital, was the hardest hit, with eruptions of looting and arson that at one point drew within a few blocks of the White House. Through the troubled days and nights, more than 15,000 federal troops and National Guardsmen patrolled the city's streets.
When after 2 weeks the violence finally subsided, 39 people had been killed, all but 5 of them black. Nearly 20,000 people had been arrested in riots that had raged in 130 cities. Throughout the country, close to 65,000 troops have been deployed in riot duty to reinforce local and state police.
All these riots occurred due to the loss of leadership that Martin Luther King Jr. provided in the civil rights movement.
After his death, the civil rights movement came to a screeching halt because there was no true leader.
Besides receiving the equal housing rights, there was no real change to the African Americans' rights after Martin Luther King's death.
For some, King's assassination meant the end of a strategy of nonviolence. Others simply reaffirmed the need to carry on his work. Leaders within the SCLC confirmed that they would. Although the SCLC's leadership was transferred to Ralph Abernathy, their protests would not be the same. It became real that Martin Luther King was dead.
This proved that Martin Luther King bonded with his people. His supporters loved him because they believed everything that came out of his mouth. He got his people going with words and optimism, not violence. His speeches influenced not only the people who believed in black rights from the start, they also influenced anyone who listened to his speeches. Martin Luther King was truly a man of character from start to finish. He is a great man that shall and never will be forgotten. The main reasons we are not segregated anymore is because of this man. It is because of this man we do not have to drink out of separate water fountains. It is because of this man we can all go to the same school. It is because of this man that some of our closest friends are different races and are from different cultures. It is truly inspirational what one amazing, very talented individual can do. And let's not forget, this was all accomplished at age 39 by a very dedicated man, Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King is most definitely one of the greatest men to ever live. He changed the world for all African Americans, and even changed whites' perspective on the black race. Him and the effects after his death relate to this year's topic, turning points, because he changed lives for everyone. King stood up for what he believed in, a characteristic everyone today should try to copy. There is no reason this man should have been hated, discriminated, and killed. He also showed that everything did not have to be solved with violence. He used peaceful ways and speeches to get to people, not guns and other weapons. We believe this was the correct topic for Turning Points because he did exactly that. He changed the world forever. Who knows? If Martin Luther King was never born, you may not have your best friend right now. You may not have the ability to go to the school you go to. You may not even be here right now. He changed the world forever, and there is no way that you can say otherwise.